crowded on it.
This is the team. Wait a
This is the
minute.
team.
No.
This way, cameras don't like whip. All right, and you were beautiful. Hey, welcome, and thanks for joining us. As we approach the anniversary of Irene, the worst storm hit Vermont in our history, I'm honored to have with me today Dave Rappaport, who's with the Irene Recovery Office. Shumlin, our Irene Recovery czar, is not available today. We have Asah, Rowles, who has been extraordinary up in the Mad River Valley in helping to ensure that we have a strong recovery up there. Thank you, Asah, for joining us. And David Coates, who you all know, is chair of the Vermont Long-Term Recovery Committee. As we approach the anniversary of Irene, as you know, it is our commitment to rebuild this state better than the way Irene found us. We have so much to be proud of in the progress that we've made, and we have to remember that we have so much more to do. And those who still aren't in their own homes, those still who don't have the businesses that they lost, those who don't have the family members that died in the storm, continue every day to face tremendous challenges and continue to need our support, both in terms of our emotional support and our financial support. We're going to commemorate Irene starting on August 25 with a 4-day visit to communities that were so severely impacted by the storm. I'm looking forward to getting to as many of those communities as I possibly can within 4 days to not only thank the people who worked so hard to get us as far as we've come, but also to hope that we can re-energize and recommit ourselves to a full recovery. There will be a few events that I hope everyone will feel free to join us for. The first is we will be doing a bell ring on August 28th and encouraging towns and communities, cities to join us, churches, town halls, fire stations, anyone who has a bell. In a bell ringing that will last for 30 seconds, beginning at 7 p.m. on the night of August 28th. We hope that as many Vermont communities will join us as they possibly can. We will also be hosting a free statewide commemoration event featuring extraordinary Vermont musicians, storm videos, and so much more on August 28th at 7 o'clock at the Chandler Center for the Arts in Randolph, Vermont. And we know that there will be many, many other local events taking place as we launch the event in Randolph. I'm going to be also encouraging Vermonters to join our photo contest. Go to www.buildupvermont.com and enter your photos of the storm, view the photos that are up. The winner of the photo contest will will receive free tickets to a Grace Potter concert, our own Grace Potter, in Grand Point North Festival at Burlington's Waterfront Park in September. We also know that there are going to be a lot of local community events, and we're asking everyone to visit www.strong.vermont.gov, where you can learn about as well as post any community events that will be taking place to commemorate Irene. Finally, and most important, we need to continue to be generous with our dollars. And I'm going to be promoting and selling I Am Vermont Strong license plates to anyone that will buy them. I know I personally bought 3 2 weeks ago. Even though I'm not allowed to drive my truck, I put one on my truck. Put a couple of others on the shelves, but I want to remind Vermonters that if you buy a plate, it's a huge help in getting us to our $1 million goal. I want to turn it now over to Asah, Rowles, talk a little bit about some of the great developments that are happening as we move forward up Valley, and David Coates to give you an update on the long-term recovery committee's efforts. So take it away, Asah. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm the chair of the Mountain River Long-Term Recovery Group. We're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel in our community. And with that, our committee has taken on a couple other communities as well to assist in their recovery effort. And in that time, we are discovering on a daily basis more cases that we were not aware of before, that were either on the FEMA list or were not on the FEMA list. And we're going door to door, and we're just helping people get home as quickly as possible.
I just want to say a word about Asah. Asah is one of the hundreds and hundreds of Vermonters that greeted me when I came to her community during the peak of the crisis. And it is the thousands and thousands of Vermonters like Asah, what I call the thousands points of light, that have made it possible for us to get as far as we have, as quickly as we have. So thank you, Asah. I appreciate you being here. David, give us an update on.
Thank you, Governor. And thank you, Asah, because what she is doing is really the lifeblood of what is happening out there in our communities. I guess I have some good news, and I have some bad news. So let me share the good news with you first. We all heard about the I Am Vermont Strong license plates, and what I want to do is give you a recap where we are as of today, or as of August 6th.
Thank you, because I don't do those numbers.
I know you don't. That's why I'm doing it. We've sold over 27,000. We've raised over $490,000. This is all in the bank. And then we have about 4,000 that are with vendors, and those monies will be coming in. So we're over halfway there when those monies will come in over the next 30 days. So that's a significant milestone from our perspective. And as the governor said, we're looking to raise $1 million. So you're going to see us all around the place. We'll be at the fair, we'll be at the Keegan Bradley golf event, which I think you're aware of. That's coming up on the 27th of August down in Woodstock. Keegan, as you know, has done pretty well in the world of golf, being the former PGA champion. So he's going to be down there raising money for us. It will all go into the Vermont Disaster Relief Fund. And another thing you should remember about the Vermont Disaster Relief Fund is that every dollar raised goes to the survivors. There's no administration fee whatsoever. We've gone out and raised that specifically for that. So every dollar we have goes to them. As of now, we've received over $3.6 million. And $1.6 million of that has been allocated out to 128 different cases. These are families or individuals that have presented cases before our allocations committee and have received funding. So that part is going along really well. Now, the bad news is that we've only scratched the surface. You heard Asah mention that they're uncovering new cases every day. They're going door to door. This is not just in Mad River, this is throughout the state of Vermont. And as we do that, we're finding more cases that maybe didn't register with FEMA, and as a result, they still qualify for our funding. And in our case, we're the last funds available for survivors in the state of Vermont. And this is significant because this is the last stop, so to speak. And we pretty much are comfortable now where we are with our caseload, in that the Disaster Case Management Program has identified over 700 cases. And we have over 100 cases that have just come in the last few weeks. So anything is probably going to climb rather than to fall. So I was just using those numbers to see what is our unmet need. The governor alluded to it, because at the end of the day, this is what we have to do for Vermonters. We've got to provide the funding for them. And our average caseload is just a little under $12,000. So let's just use the 700 cases. That means we have to raise $8.4 million to take care of the unmet need out there for those 700 plus families and individuals in the state of Vermont. Now that's a huge number. As you know, we've raised 3.6. We spent 1.6. So we have kind of like a down payment on that of $2 million. The rest of it, we've got to find through selling license plates. Every $25 that's spent on a license plate, we get $18. $2 goes to the Vermont Food Bank, another very valuable part of this infrastructure that we have in the state of Vermont. And then the other amount goes to produce the plate. So, as I said, we're the fund of last resort. We're right down to the last 700 cases. Recovery starts best and ends best at the local level. We're a statewide organization, not a state organization, a statewide organization, and then we coordinate our efforts with all of the local recovery committees. And I think things are going pretty well at this point. So I would just urge everyone to buy a license plate. $18 goes to Vermont Disaster Relief Fund. As a matter of fact, I think probably the top retail seller may be Dick Mazin, Senator Mazin. I stopped over there today before I came, and Dick has sold over 700 plates at his store alone. And, pardon?
Senators aren't waiting, he's beating them.
Oh, that's good, we need a contest. But it was interesting, I was on my run the other day, and on the way back, which was less than a half a mile as I was completing, I was on 127, and I counted 23 I Am Vermont Strong plates at 7 o'clock in the morning. So, people are buying them, but we need everyone to buy more. Everybody in this room, go for it. That's all I have, except, again, that we really are Vermonters, and we take care of Vermonters. That's what it's all about. And we know we have 700 families that are still going to be there. This recovery isn't a 1 or 2 year process. Sometimes it's 3 and 4 years. I know Vermont, we do it better, but in this case, we've got to do it much better. We've got to raise the amount of funds that I just talked about, roughly $6 million for these Vermonters that don't have the lives that we have in this room. Thank you.
Thanks, David, for the great work that you're doing, sharing this effort. I appreciate it. You would be happy to take any questions that you might have. So would I on what we've discussed so far, and we'll talk more about FEMA.
David, maybe just a quick question. So you said there's been money allocated to 128 different cases, and
Yes.
you have over 700 still. Why do you
Yes.
think people came in like a year later?
Well, in some cases, they didn't realize they could apply. In most cases, the 700 were in the system already, Kristen, okay? It's just that it takes a while to get the case all worked up and brought before the allocations committee. The allocations committee has taken care of every case that's been presented. We have caseworkers out working with the individuals that are presenting, that need the survivors, I should say. And as those numbers are worked up, they come before our committee for an allocation. So
it's really important to understand, this committee is the stop of last resort. You've got to go through FEMA, you've got to go through your private insurance, you have to go through everything else available to you. Once you're all done with that process, you come to this committee.
right. And it does take time.
How much time does it take for an average person who comes to get money from
I
you
don't
folks?
have I think it's probably not an average time. They're all different depending on how complex they are. And as the governor mentioned, FEMA, usually they have to have FEMA funding if they can line for it before we can work on it, because we have to know what the unmet need is, and until we get that amount, we can't determine it.
Perhaps I could help a
Yeah.
little bit more information. I think there's two issues here. One is the folks who haven't yet been in those numbers, who we see emerging as time goes on, and what we're told by folks who are more experienced with these kinds of disasters than we are here in Vermont. It's not unusual to have people a year out deciding, now I need help. A lot of Vermonters, as we all know, will easily say, look, somebody else needs the help more than I do, why don't you give it to them? And they kind of figure that there's going to be one way or another they're going to be able to get by with the help of family and friends, and now many of them are realizing that for one reason or another that hasn't happened, and they do need help. So we do see new cases coming in, and as everybody's been saying, before a case gets presented for funding for David's group, There's all kinds of other things that go on. And what we're trying to do in this recovery is mix and match this variety of resources. So the funding that this committee offers is one component, but there's volunteer efforts, there's all kinds of other things that are components of a recovery plan. And as we've seen, there's been such an outpouring of volunteer effort, integrating that in, figuring out how that works and adds up to enabling somebody to recover is a long-term process. And so we expect to see this recovery continuing for quite a while as a result of that. It's not all just about the funding. The funding is critical. There's no way around the need for more resources. There's all kinds of other resources, volunteer help that's also needed as well.
Thanks, David.
Even if you sold, if you met your license plate goal of $1 million, you'd still need another $5.5 million.
Yes.
Right, so where are you gonna go for the big
Well, we have
bucks?
other sources that we're working on right now. We certainly are going to have to go out to the communities at large, individuals, to raise those kinds of funds. When I mentioned the golf tournament, we expect that we can raise about $75,000 there. We've got another roughly $500,000 coming in on the plate sales, and then we have other monies that have come into the community, or the state. The Rotary International put in about $400,000, and those monies went to the CAP agencies. However, they're going to be dispersed to the survivors, just like we would be doing. So it's not where it all has to come just to one agency or one organization. It's wherever it goes in the state of Vermont that it's used.
So just to check, you need 6 million more than you have today? Is that
Yes.
your numbers?
Based on the caseload that we're aware of right now, yes.
But David's making a really important point. The need is $6 million. So when Rotary International comes over $400,000, even though it might not go through this fund, it is meeting $400,000 of that $6 million need.
Right.
Given the scope of the shortfall, Governor, any regrets about not having set aside some general fund money for some of these survivors?
No. I think that we're going to be successful in getting where we need to go. And I personally think it's a very bad precedent to use taxpayer dollars to hand out for individual help, and that we're much better off doing this just as we are, through the generosity and determination of Vermonters.
Something, I mean, you addressed, David, the idea that this is a slow process. Some people might be surprised. We're sneaking up on a year now. And, what did you say, 128 people?
128 cases, yeah.
Some people might think, golly, that's just not very many.
But it's a good question, but the answer is pretty clear, and that is we handle every case that's been presented. It takes a while for the cases to be developed, as David mentioned, and there's other sources. It may be people providing labor, it may be people providing materials, or whatever. So all of those things have to come together, so it does take a while to get there. However, once they get there, they're taken care of right away.
What sort of things do you find is covering, since FEMA has to kick in first on insurance and all that? What sort of things is that money covering?
The rebuilding process.
So the part of a house that FEMA didn't cover, or?
Most of it would go there, yes. There's a whole list of things that qualify. Some are prioritized higher than others. Most important thing is to get people back in their home.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Did you want a question, please?
Yeah, for you though. Are you sensitive to the perception that maybe you're using Irene as a campaign issue, and that this is, as we head into campaign season, you're doing all these appearances at all these communities that were hit by Irene, and some people, Republicans, might say, well, look at it, he's riding Irene's coattails to re-election.
My job as governor is to ensure that I do everything possible to get Vermont back on its feet after what is undeniably the worst storms ever hit the state.